Good morning, Algebra 2. I wanted to first, before we start going into 7.6, I wanted to just provide an overview of what is the lesson about. Kind of give you a thought process to go through for each problem. And it's generally going to be the same when we go through the notes, just a couple of differences versus factoring and quadratic formula and what you're being given. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a polynomial. And so you are going to be given a polynomial. Any polynomial could be third power, could be fourth power. It will not be squared. So when you're given a polynomial, we're going to start there. And I'm going to give you a factor of it, or I'm going to give you a zero of that polynomial. That's going to be given. And so after you're told the polynomial, you're going to be given one of two things. You're either going to be given a factor, or you're going to be given a zero. Those are the two different approaches that we're going to be using today. After that, it's generally the same idea, is you then go forward using, for both cases, synthetic division. Is we are going to divide the polynomial by, in a way, kind of what's given. And that's kind of where some things I say will differ. It's going to be the same process, but what you do with synthetic division with a factor, how you set it up, is a little bit different than how you set it up with a zero. Not extreme complication, just know based off of what you're given, it's going to change just one little step in each process in the beginning. And what happens is, like I said, you're going to have probably most likely a third power, maybe a fourth power here. Well, if I do synthetic division, at this point, you're going to be down to a quadratic. And this is, by the way, every single thing we're going to be doing today is this general flow chart is I'm giving you the polynomial. After that, hey, I'm going to give you a factor. You know what? Maybe I'll give you a zero. But no matter what, you're going to do synthetic division. It's just something occurs at this step of the zero and something occurs at this step of the factor that we just need to keep in mind. Little disclaimer, they're going to be a little bit different. But no matter what, after you do synthetic division, you're going to end up with a quadratic. And that is generally the same. From there, well, that's just chapter 6, is when you have a quadratic, there are going to be two options. You can either factor, or if it's not factorable, you would use the quadratic formula. And that is it. It seems complicated. We have yet to look at an example, but it's the general thought of what we're doing today. Is I want you to understand is what you're going to be given, how you're going to use it, and what the expectation is. I'm telling you right now, when it comes to your test and the factoring, if I say factor or find the factors, you better factor. First, the only way you can use the quadratic formula is if the quadratic is not factorable. That is the only time I will accept the quadratic formula on the test, is if it is not factorable. So, thought process, given a polynomial, we're going to do synthetic division with either a factor or a zero. From there, we're going to do quadratic formula and then solve. That is the overview of today's lesson. We're going to go on to the next video and see it in work.